Remember that one game you thought was going to change your life? The one you pre-ordered, installed at midnight, and then realized that it was trash. Well, you are not alone. Today we're talking about 5 games that were so hyped, so over-marketed, that they had no chance of living up to expectations, and ended up crushing harder than Anthem servers. Stick around because the number one pick, it's not just disappointing, it's the single greatest hype train derailment in gaming history. Now, let's be honest. Gamers are suckers for hype, myself included. A flashy trailer drops, the music swells, the dev says everything you see here is running in real time on next-gen hardware, and suddenly you're convinced this game is going to cure depression and make you breakfast. You pre-order the Deluxe Ultimate Gold Plated Edition, set your clock for a midnight release, and when the download finally finishes, the game launches, crashes immediately, and you realize you just paid $70 for the world's most expensive loading screen. It's this cycle we never seem to break. Announcement trailer, that's pure magic. The marketing campaign, where developers whispering sweet promises into our ears, and the release date, the crushing realization that hype was lying to us all along. And sometimes it's not even that the games are awful, a lot of them are just fine. But when you're hyped to believe you're getting the next revolution in gaming, fine feels like betrayal. The thing about hype is like a snowball. One cool trailer turns into Reddit threads, into YouTube breakdowns, and fan theories. And before you know it, the community has built this image of a game that never actually existed. And when reality finally shows up, it's disappointment no matter what.
Disappointed!
So today we're looking at 5 of the most infamous victims of their own hype. Games that had the wall up their feet, millions of fans waiting only to faceplant harder than a Skyrim NPC walking into a wall.
Why do you come here?
We're talking about broken promises, downgraded graphics, missing features, bug feasts, and the kind of disappointment that makes you reconsider your life choices. And trust me, the number one game on this list isn't just disappointment. It's a cautionary tale so legendary that developers still bring it up whenever they are asked about unrealistic expectations. In number 5, No Man's Sky. Back in 2013, a tiny indie studio called Hello Games promised the world. Actually, they promised billions of worlds. The hype was about the infinite procedural generated planets, massive alien creatures, space battle, and exploration with friends. It looked like Star Wars, Minecraft, and Pokemon had a weird polymerous baby. The reality at launch in 2016, planets looked different but felt kinda the same, the dinosaurs turned out to be sad spaghetti monsters, the multiplayer was not there, and the entire game loop boiled down to mine rocks, refill fuel, repeat until existential crisis. Players felt scammed. Sin Murray, the game's lead, went from beloved indie dev to meme villain overnight. But here's the twist. Unlike most games on this list, No Man's Sky clawed its way back. After years of updates, it's generally good now, a redemption story. But in 2016, oh boy, it was embodiment of hype kills. On the number 4, we have Watch Dogs. Flashback to the E3 of 2012, Ubisoft shows off Watch Dogs, and the internet collectively loses its mind. The promises were next-gen graphics so realistic people thought it was pre-rendered. You could hide the entire city at will, dynamic systems where every action has consequences, a gritty cyberpunk story about surveillance and morality. Gamers were drooling, pre-orders skyrocketed, and this was supposed to be the GTA killer. The reality in 2014 was that graphics were severely downgraded. The term Ubisoft downgrade was basically born here. Hacking was mostly press X to change traffic lights. The protagonist Aiden Pierce had the personality of a soggy breadstick, and the story was less complex cyberpunk and more average revenge plot. It was an unplayable. It just wasn't what we were promised. It was a meh game wearing the mask of a masterpiece. And that's the danger of hype. When you tell people they are getting filet mignon and you serve them microwave pizza rolls, disappointment is inevitable. At number 3, we have Anthem. Anthem, that game that was supposed to make BioWare soar again, and instead it crash-landed harder than a jetpack with a dead battery. The hype was a shared world shooter to rival Destiny, Iron Man-style fights and combat, a living world full of secrets, events and stories, and this will be the future of live service games. The reality in 2019, the world was empty, missions were painfully repetitive, fly here, shoot some bugs, stand in a circle, and repeat. The story was paper-thin, tragic for a studio famous for cheap RPGs, and let's not forget loading screens that lasted so long you could clean your kitchen between missions. Even worse, Anthem wasn't just bad, it was boring. And boring kills a game faster than bugs could ever. The hype was so big that the crash was catastrophic. BioWare reputation hasn't recovered, and Anthem is now the textbook example of how to waste a promising idea. At number 2, we have, of course, Cyberpunk 2077. If hype could kill, Cyberpunk would be a war crime. For nearly a decade, CD Projekt Red teased the most ambitious RPG of all time, and after The Witcher 3, who wouldn't believe them? The hype went from a massive living city, deep RPG systems, multiple life paths and choices that actually mattered, and Keanu Reeves. Breathtaking. By the time release day rolled around in 2020, expectations were so high that the only way CD Projekt Red could have delivered is if the game literally made players immortal. On PC it was buggy but playable, but on consoles it was an absolute train wreck. Constant crashes, textures not loading, cars flying into space, features that were promises like advanced AI, branching police chases, and dynamic world reactions just didn't exist. NPCs had brains of cardboard cutouts. CD Projekt Red's reputation nosedived, lawsuits happened, and Sony literally pulled the game from PlayStation Store for months. The game has been patched and expanded into something great today, but its launch was so disastrous, it will forever be remembered as the king of hype-fueled letdowns. And on number 1, we have Spore. Long before Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky, there was Spore, the original hype monster. Created by Will Wright, the genius behind The Sims and The Sim Cities, Spore was marketed as one of the most ambitious games ever. Now, between 2005 and 2008, we were promised to start as a single-cell organism, evolve into a creature, from tribes, civilizations to space marines, and literally simulate life itself. The demos looked like pure magic. Gamers thought this was going to change not just gaming but science. But the reality in 2008, well, the early stages were shallow minigames. The creature stage was fun but simplistic. The epic space stage turned into a repetitive green fest, and it wasn't deep, it was just cute. Now, Spore isn't awful, it had charm, and the creature creator is still legendary, but the hype painted it as a god simulator masterpiece, and when reality hit, fans were crushed. It stands as a warning. Even legends like Will Wright aren't immune to the deadly power of hype. And there you have it, 5 games that were killed by their own hype. From indie promises that spiral out of control to AAA blockbusters that buckle under pressure. Now, one thing is clear, hype is a dangerous drug. The moral story is basically don't pre-order games, don't trust trailers, and for the love of all that is holy, remember, if a game looks too good to be true, it probably is. But hey, that's just my list. Now there's a lot of more like Aliens, Colonial Marines, Battlefield 2042, Fable, so drop your picks in the comments and let's get the stories. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you soon, random internet brother.